Previously in X-Men. Wrong slide. Already off the top. Look at that. Amazing when it goes just the way I want it to. Professor Xavier was recently the victim of a hate-filled assault as tensions continue to rise toward the small mutant population. True.
All true, yeah.
His newest student, Rachel, is a displaced mutant from the future. She is becoming increasingly valued by her teammates, all while keeping her secrets to herself. Magneto, once the X-Men's arch-foe, has been recovering on a secret island in the Bermuda Triangle alongside his new romantic interest, Elatis Forrester. You didn't know that. Is the world ready for Magneto's return? Is it safe for Professor X to be so vulnerable at Columbia University? These are big questions. I am Jason Lapidus.
I am Chris Sanagan.
And we are a group of 7 comics. Welcome to episode 122 of our ongoing Tuesday night live stream read-through of the X-Men comics that became classic as we read Uncanny X-Men 196 by Claremont, Romita, and Green, cover date of August 1985. But first, after our usual pleasantries and the arrival of tonight's special guest, we'll begin with our limited series previously on X-Men 97 and give our review of episode 10, Tolerance is Extinction, Part 3. That is a lot of numbers to go through there, my friend. Chris, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing well, thanks. Tuesday evening and such. Beautiful weather here in southern Ontario. Can't complain.
So beautiful, so humid.
That's your favorite. That's your absolute
Yes.
favorite.
Oh, our air conditioner got on this weekend, and running, humming, purring like a jungle cat in my yard. So I'm very happy about that. But
Awesome.
All is good here. I mean, it's been a great week to be interested in X-Men, and hope everyone out there really enjoyed the finale of season 1 of X-Men 97. I see Allie's here. Hey, happy Tuesday to you too. And hey, Chuck. Michael, hello. To me, my ex-friend says, Chuck, you love the recap slides? Okay, good. I don't know. I mean, if it's
hey, everybody! Jason puts a lot of work into those. Okay, so it's good. Thanks.
No.
I'm sure he feels good about that.
It's just fun to do a little bit of comic book style lettering. I enjoy doing a little bit of that. So it's always good practice to do a little writing to summarize the nonsense that is X-Men continuity, and always a little fun to do some lettering too. So I dig that. I'm a big fan. I'm really happy that the season went out the way it did, and that we got the product that we got. I've been rewatching so many episodes, kind of haphazardly, as my daughter will come home from school and she's like, "Hey, Dad, how about we just sit for a minute and watch some X-Men?" I'm like, yeah, I'm all in. So today she threw on Remember It. The episode where Gambit died, and I gotta say, holy smokes, it got so much better since I saw it last time. The emotional weight of so many things were much more powerful, knowing how that was going to play out. And there's like things we've talked about and hyped up, just even the animation on the ice as it melts and cracks, and the tension in that room, in the like boardroom on Genosha. So many cool things. What a great episode. So I was really moved by it. And I don't know if you heard this, Chris, that the X-Men 97 production, the team submitted that episode to the Emmys for consideration.
Oh, no, I had not heard that.
Maybe I misheard, but that's what I happened to hear. So I'm really excited about what's to come, and really glad that the team that put this show together put together season 2. So showrunner Bo DeMaio, like, he's part of season 2. He's not, because he left right before the show started. So at least he's involved in that. So it's very exciting to move forward with everything in place. Who knows what season 3 will be, but season 1 was just such strong TV.
Mm-hmm.
So good. Do you want to dive into this alert, and our guest will join us when he joins us?
Yeah.
That's okay with you? All right.
Yeah.
All right. So one of the great things about this episode to me was the Inception-like quality to being inside a character's minds, where they're like having their struggle while they're like interfacing with each other inside of the mind. Oh, Ali says Bo didn't leave; he was fired. Okay, I don't know any of the drama there or any of the details. I'll be honest. I try and stay away from that kind of stuff, and it'll work itself out when it works. So thank you for letting me know. Maybe I will have to go read up a little bit more about it, but as the drama comes out, we'll figure it out. So they're inside. The episode starts with a really long scene inside Magneto's mind, and we don't know that right away. It feels like a flashback for a while, and which is great. You know, it's like the two guys kind of meeting, early days. I did you experience a conflict like in terms of where and when this was, or did you have no issue?
You mean in terms of like a timeline?
Sure, like the music they played was The Birds,
Okay.
which is just like screams 1960s and
Sure.
peace and love and like Vietnam era
Okay.
kind of setting.
Yeah.
It's mid 60s, and but like the setting is totally Central Europe or even Western Europe. Like this feels like they're in recently bombed out Berlin, or you know what I mean? Like they're having big pints.
They're playing with all kinds of different. I mean, they're kind of still making it ambiguous because I think they're trying to if it's the 90s and X97 and how old these characters and
Right.
So it can't be World War II. That's too far back.
Sure.
Based on
even though that's what it is in the comics.
Even though that's what it is in comics, but that's how so I think there's just some playing around with like literally a 20th century global conflicts and trying to
So there's also like that Mr. Universe picture in the background that we can see here, like the total Schwarzenegger type image. They often call this the sliding timeline, meaning that like if a character has part of their history connected to a specific part of the 20th or 21st history, like some kind of real life history, specifically Magneto, he continues to sort of, it stretches his age increasingly. And it makes him less and less realistic. So often they try to rethink of like where to place a character and what conflict, like what war did Punisher serve in, you know, like those kinds of. I mean, originally he's like a Vietnam vet, but now it's like a Gulf War, like and then it moves into it's Iraq War, and it just like these things move. So I also try to keep it ambiguous in my head. But it gives you the sense that it's about 30 years before the show.
Yeah.
And who knows what conflict. I mean, it luckily it doesn't matter so much. Michael says it makes him think of issue 161. Yeah, I think that's, when we get those characters in the past, that's what we're going for here. Magneto's got this short hair, so it feels like this is a long time ago, perhaps. Professor X looks very young.
Is just 161 with Baron Strucker?
I'm guessing just like off the top of my head. I don't know.
And the Satan's Claw.
Oh, right. Oh, look. I mean, why wouldn't it be?
Well, that's the one. That's the one that we did. That I remember that they're in the past, and there's a lady in there as well for Xavier.
Yeah, Gabriel Haller.
That's the one.
All right. So
yes. The chat's lighting up. It is the Satan's Claw.
Right there. There it is. 161. I decided
against a mutant man who can shape metal at his will.
Yes.
I'll use this giant metal arm.
I decided to move my X-Men box like right here, and instead of me going to get it every once in a while, I was like, no, let's just keep it on hand. So 161, their flashback issue. You guys are awesome. So thank you. So I'm also trying not to get too literal about the time and place, because it's the spirit of it that matters. And then when you also consider that this is a construct, right? It's not just the past. It is a construct. So we're playing with like what's gonna make sense to Magneto. So this kid from Poland, growing up when he grows up in the 1940s and into the 50s and 60s, like what's going to make sense to Magneto. So if it's not literally Cuba or not literally Vietnam or not literally Germany, it just has to feel like a place where he would be comfortable to do this, and he feels like it's militarized. Speaking of feeling, let's bring in our special guest. Hope you're ready to go, Nigel. I see you there. You're giving me a good smile. So we're going to bring our friend Nigel Downer to the show. Welcome. About time that we get you on here. Nigel, do we introduce you as actor and comedian? What do you what do you like to go with?
Yeah, no. Actor and comedian is great. That's great. I love it.
Okay, good.
So should I go backstage and then you guys do it again? Is that?
Oh yeah, we did this whole thing.
Yeah.
This whole thing is just a rehearsal. So we're just don't worry, we're gonna do the whole show again. This is the run through, and then we'll do it all again, probably around midnight. So it's you better have a cup of coffee.
Light work for your boy.
We're still in the first scene of X-Men 97, episode 10, Extinction, whatever it was called.
Amazing.
3. Yeah, I mean, come on. It was all good. So we're just talking about the sliding timeline and how, like, we're both not reading this too literally, like where they're supposed to be and when, because it doesn't really necessarily have to align. But it's kind of fun that this scene happened. I like that they're drinking different things and they're feeling each other out, trying to figure out, okay, is this a safe person for me to come out to or not?
Mm-hmm.
It's a really powerful and good long scene too. And it took a while for it to like reveal that it wasn't a flashback. That it's like I'm dealing with like one psyche dealing with another psyche and like maneuvering through the politics of that. I thought it was very cool. Anyway, I just have some slides, some images just to get us talking about it, but we don't have to necessarily talk about what happens in the slide because there aren't slides for every single scene that we're going to have in the show. Obviously, this plays out in a way that it starts to fall apart. It's revealed that things are going down in the real world, and I think it's Bastion is like the next big thing where he has got all the X-Men on the island beat, right? Jean's underwater. We don't know what's happened with her. Storm and the rest are like tentacled up with the Sentinels, and it's like that chaos of the world is falling around them, and I think the asteroids it's coming down, isn't it? So Situation Room
as it is like so. Yeah, Bastion is has the upper hand, and then he goes to make the asteroid come down.
Yeah. It's bad for everyone. We get to see Iron Man for the first time. And we
90s
get that, like,
Iron Man.
Yeah. I gotta just ask, Nigel, did you get the figure of this Marvel Legends of this one?
That one I did not. I'm not. Man, I was so no. The short answer is no. The long answer is like there's something about the Avengers, and I think it was because of the films that when they brought the Avengers together, when Marvel Studios brought them together, and when you see that, I'm just gonna ramble for a quick second. When you see that really it really gave me all the feels because now I'm seeing these figures, I'm seeing these, these heroes and these villains that I'd read about for decades, and now they put them in real life on screen. They come together, and I'm like, "Yo, man, guess I gotta buy the Avengers now." You know what I mean? So then I started getting into Legends like heavy, but then I'm like, Iron Man's not really my jam. Like I figured out he's just not my guy. War Machine, my guy.
Iron Man,
not my guy. Yeah, because and Jason knows this about me. And listen, we're gonna talk a lot about this throughout this pod. Now that you got a brother on, and Chris, we kind of dabbled in this in the early formations of our relationship. Because Rhodes, our guy, because he's a brother and he donned the Iron Man suit, but he had the black and white version, War Machine. I was like, yeah, man, I'm into it. Any brothers that were out there, especially in Marvel, I was down with. So War Machine, I'm down with. Iron Man, man, not so much. And this version of Iron Man, now that we could come full circle into the real conversation, the real ask, not really my favorite. But I mean, I dig it because of the time, because of the era that we're supposed to be watching this cartoon and the world that that's living in. The Iron Man is living in, because it is the 90s, exactly when these cartoons were popping up.
So did you get the War Machine from this era as well?
Yeah. Yeah, the blister pack one with the yeah for sure. There's two, right? There's a blister pack, the old school retro carded. I got that one, and then I do have the deluxe Marvel Legends version. Yeah, I got both of those. Hell yeah, I did.
Yeah, I got the deluxe one because that one came first.
Yeah,
and then I realized after I kind of prefer them on their the comic book color as opposed to what they would be in real life.
right.
So there are two versions of this Iron Man as well. One where he's gold and like a shiny red.
Yeah.
And one where he's like matte red and yellow.
That's one I like.
I kind of like it red and yellow because that's how they color it in the comic,
yeah.
as opposed to trying to make a figure of what it is like in real life. So I got I have the other version of War Machine that looks more like real life, the deluxe set, because I didn't really know that the retro one was coming, and now the retro one looks a little plain to my eye. But maybe who knows? But it's so cool to see. Still cool to see. I love that all the heroes got involved. Like they wanted to show a broader world, although most of it was New York. You know, like this is happening obviously in Washington, D.C. or wherever the president is supposed to be. But most of the action was going on in New York. We got to see Daredevil, which I freaked out. I don't know.
So cool.
Chris did. I mean, he's your guy. So
I know.
Oh, that's your boy, huh?
He is. You know, no one takes a punch like Matt Murdock, right? That's like the best part. It was great to see him. And it was great to see these characters just building on what you're saying, Nigel, like done in this style as well, like that 90s animated, you know, retro kind of style, which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't slick. Like you could still see it wasn't like it was done in such a way that it paid homage to like the style of the literal animation without it being like so brand new that you knew it was so separated. Do you know what I mean? Which I thought was pretty clever. Yeah.
I keep hearing these things described that way, and I mentioned this before, like for whatever that G.I. Joe show was called in the 2000s and something. There was like
Renegades?
No.
Retribution?
Oh, yeah, Retribution.
Something like that. Either way, there was a G.I. Joe show, and the guy at Cyber City described it to me as it's the way you remember G.I. Joe looking. But it didn't mean that like it looks like the old show. It just, when you're 8 and you think it looks like super amazing action and like good violence, and then you carry that with you as if you've never watched it again. I think these characters look like the way that me as a kid would have thought the X-Men cartoon looked. Mm-hmm. So my adult critical eye thinks this looks good, and my like 8-year-old not critical eye thought it looked good, and they aligned perfectly. Yeah. They've like improved everything, so that DD looks like how, you know, when he appears on the Spider-Man cartoon, it like looks bang on for that style. So that's pretty cool. Hello there. I got Kevin throwing around. Hope you're doing good, Kevin. And
what's up, my guy?
I miss you.
Yeah, same. You know what? And I just want to call back to this comment that you just made, Jason, just so I don't forget it. You mentioned, you know, your 8-year-old self, your 7-year-old self, or whatever your age was when you're watching this. Like watching X-Men 97, this thing was so damn nostalgic. Like nostalgic. Like it just really tugged on my kid strings, my you know, everything that every fiber of my existence that really just enjoyed the 90s, like early 2000s max, but like the 90s, 80s and 90s, because things were so much different back then, especially not only in animation, but just the way that stories were told. And visually, when you're looking at this and you're watching this series, I just was just thrown into it. I don't multitask when I watch this show. Very rarely do I. There's very rare shows that I have multitasked to. Like most of the shows, I'm on another screen for sure. But this one, man, and I usually saved it till Thursday morning because that's when I had time to myself and it was just me. I avoided spoilers at all costs, but I could just focus and just sit there and just sit in it, stew in it. And like even this screenshot here of Doctor Strange, and he's doing his stuff, you know, doing all the magic because all the electricity's down. It's like, and he's got a mask on. Like it's just so bananas because you're like, this is so cool. Why is he wearing a mask? Why? It's a cartoon. It doesn't matter. But I like that Bo and the rest of the team went in with some realism and be like, yeah, and he'd for sure wear a mask, right? And it's great.
Yeah. We're a mask friendly world at the moment. But like we kind of know.
Here's the cool thing about this too is that you've got that mashup, Nigel, of like what we would think Doctor Strange late 90s might look like.
Right.
But with the MCU mystical, right? Like that we're familiar with now, right?
Yeah.
So, and also I love, it's such a, like, again, he's a doctor, he's a surgeon. So like the idea of like he's in the hospital helping out because there's like a blackout. I'm like, that's fantastic. Yeah.
It's gotta wear his cloak.
That merger is fantastic. I'm sure we'll touch on that a million times over. But that merger of the familiar language that we've now gotten from Marvel, and then when you throw it into this kind of animation, anything that's kind of retro, you don't even think twice about it. You don't even bat an eyelash because it's already in your bank. You've already logged it as familiar language to you. So you watch this and it's like, and it just glazes over. But in terms of just what the
it's again connecting it to another X property. It's like the Deadpool Wolverine trailer where the circle, right? Of where like, oh, is that a Comic-Con like mystical circle? Is that what's happening? Yeah.
It's crazy. Like we in comics theory talk, people often talk about comics as a language. And it's the language is a mixing of obviously words and pictures and all that to tell story and sequence. And to think that the guys at the MCU, the production teams there, were able to add to that language by creating a consistent version of Doctor Strange's magic, and that the whole version of those mystics is both really super cool that everyone recognizes it right away. We all know what the language means, which means like it's been codified. It's part of the lexicon, which is super cool. The downside is it doesn't leave as much room for innovation for like the next. Like the way in comics, there's no editor saying after Steve Ditko leaves, being like, actually, you got to draw the magic. When Strange does this, the hand angles like,
so, your magic. Magic?
Wait, are you a warlock?
Yeah. What are you? They're part of our language now. Anytime you do that, if I see you in the real world and you do that, I'm going to expect lasers.
Yeah, so the editors weren't telling the guys that they have to use the exact same symbols to mean the same things. It was all just an abstraction. And so this is cool that it's been codified and not really a problem that they can't really innovate because the next team might want to innovate and bring in a new spell, change the color when it powers up or whatever it's going to be. But like when Forge used it in a couple episodes back, it was super cool. We all knew exactly what they were talking about. So I think those magics are like connected is really fun because part of the magic of the MCU is the connectivity of it all. And now that like, the 90s animated universe is one of the dimensions in the MCU that they can go to, like in the multiverse of madness, they could have passed through that dimension, which is such a fun idea. The way they did in Spider-Verse, like you see Donald Glover there, in his cell. It's like not nice to stare at whatever he said. It was fun. Anyway, I love this stuff, obviously. So Bastion goes on his rant. He's got his new look too, which is great as he progresses throughout the episode toward being like more monstrous. And shouts to Theo James again for like delivering a great performance, understated for all those episodes. And then by this one, he's coming out over the top a little more. And it really worked for me. Did you guys enjoy this version of Bastion?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chris. You hit it off, and then I'll follow.
I was gonna say, like super high threat level. Like great. That's what you want from an antagonist, right? Like someone who looks like they can just go toe to toe with everybody. So yeah,
it felt like a video game in terms of the whole season. Like you just kept getting new bosses and going deeper and deeper into the lore and the story, and then this is I'm trying to think of a great way to describe Bastion in terms of being the final boss in this season, because he's not a guy that you would think would be the final boss. You're like, I don't know, man. You know what I mean? It feels like it would have been obviously Magneto for just a number of reasons. But you have this dude, and his reasoning really felt to me much like Killmonger in the fact that he had a reason why he wanted to make society this way, and just the way that he was brought up and looked upon, and then again him leveling up, and then you're getting like 3 different versions of him till you get the final boss. It was so great. And I've heard nothing but, I didn't read this storyline. I know a little bit about it, but I've heard in Extinction Agenda that like he's pretty lame. I've heard he's pretty lame. But I'm convinced otherwise because this is boss.
But that's the cool thing with anytime you get to translate or adapt any kind of text from one source to another, or one writer to another, one artist to another, it's all iterations, and like someone can add something to it just to suddenly make that character really cool. I was listening to a video talking about Bane from Batman, and I heard a take that I'd never heard before, where like the YouTuber went and researched other times in Batman's history where Batman gets broken, like physically broken, gets beat, and like the kind of character that it takes to beat him. And then also other times he comes across like brutish characters. And it's like from about 1987 or maybe 86 when he first loses to the mutant leader in The Dark Knight Returns. That's like the first time readers ever get to see Batman get physically beaten and get bones broken. And then over the next 9 years, it's like a series of kind of tries to get it, but none of those characters ever take. They don't ever like last beyond their short story. And then 94, 95, like Bane hits and he breaks Batman's back, and like he's the one that goes from comics to cartoon and from comics to movies, multiple, and like action figures galore, sculptures. Like he's the one that transcends, because the idea of this kind of character was like tweaked, different names, different ideas until they get it right. Like, so this version of Bastion, it works. I wasn't scared of him 3 episodes ago, but he looks good, and the acting was really good. I'm a fan. So this was cool. But you're right. In the comics, he's not that cool.
I think you're right. Total shout out to Theo James. The voice acting is like incredible for him. Like, just it's so, it's equal mix. Cold reality. I don't know. Like it's just delivered in like such conviction, but not like mustache twirly, which we all have a soft spot in our hearts are mustache twirling villains. But like this one, it's just cold reality, and it's delivered in such an incredible way.
To add to that now, because now we're going to go a little deeper. I got to watch out. So I get in conversations with my lovely wife about this kind of stuff too. She's an English teacher, and we talk about how villains are portrayed in different texts over centuries, and the idea that villains get a backstory and a reason why they are the way they are, and that they can be right but still do it in the wrong way. Sort of like like you mentioned about Killmonger. Like when you hear his thinking, like there's reason he's in that much pain, and there's a reason that he's living in an incredibly unfair world, and his methods are cruel and violent, but like you kind of get it. He makes sense, and Thanos like makes sense, and Magneto makes sense. But Magneto was the mustache twirling villain. Doctor Doom was. All these guys used to be, but like as we go from, think about Darth Vader in the first movie, even in the second movie. Like we don't have empathy for Darth Vader until like maybe Clone Wars fixes Anakin. You know what I mean? Like I didn't have much empathy for him when it was with Hayden in the role, until now we definitely all do. We see him as being a person who's taken away from his mother, a slave who's taken away from his mother, and like you can see all these reasons why he's traumatized and why he's been abused by powerful people and taken advantage of and lied to. And so now there is like this pattern in the last 30 years or whatever we want to say, of us being empathetic toward villains, and us having feelings like villains as victims too, not just the perpetrators toward victims. They are victims too, but that wasn't the case 2 generations ago. Villains were they're the bad guy, and that's where Magneto's coming from. And so when you talk about Nigel, like there being depth to why he is this way, it's fascinating, like how we can make villains so interesting, and they're kind of in their own version. Like this is not something I invented; I'm just saying it. But to the villain, they're the hero of the story. They believe that they're right, and they believe they're really trying to get to their end and reach their goal, and like they're their own hero, and it's powerful. It's good.
I was just actually going to say that before you said it, Jason. Is just like the
sorry.
No. You said it way more eloquently than I would have. Liz, where they at? There they are. No. So, two things. One, I said Extinction Agenda, and I actually meant Operation Zero Tolerance. That was the run. I just want to make sure to correct myself before any fellow nerds come at me. My bad. And the second thing is, to your point, they're anti-heroes, right? Like the way that they're writing them now, the way that these beautiful minds are writing these characters are not straight up villains. They're only bad because, you know, the paradigm is shifted towards this training of this way of thinking in the book. But it's like, again, I bring up Killmonger because for me, he was the quintessential. He was the guy that really changed the way that I thought about villains. I mean, it's very kind of specific to Black culture and the way he was thinking and society, especially at the time. But like midway through the movie, after he gives you his premise, like after he gives you, you know, what his idea is, you're kind of like, you know, Killmonger was right. You know what I mean? Like he just all of a sudden flips it, and now you're not sure who you're rooting for. And I think that was somewhat the same. I mean, we're not totally rooting for Bastion here, but we can kind of sympathize with just what's happening. But then he goes full and goes too far. But yeah, it's wild in that respect.
There's a really good I think when stories are told really well, I think what we're also talking about is like how things like there's a complexity now which may not have been evident in previous generations to this degree. And even Jay, you know, you and I were talking after the end of this episode and talking about how, you know, we haven't, I don't know if we've, I guess we have at this point, their fight was in episode 9, the last one. We're like, you know, like the villains, capital V villain, gives choice sometimes to the capital H hero to be like, to make a choice, like which path to follow. And you see it with Rogue, right? Rogue's like, you know what? I'm actually going to join Magneto. And Sunspot is the same thing, right? Like, he's like, here's my choice. Come with me to Asteroid M and da-da-da-da. And like, you know, Nightcrawler's like, Rogue, what are you doing? And it's like, no, like, I feel this is the right path to follow or whatever, right? Now, saying that, you then have to have, because it is still a villain hero story archetype kind of, you know, piece, then the villain who you have empathy for, maybe, or is a complex bit of thinking or approach, then does something so on the opposite side to then rejig your thinking, right? So he then extracts the adamantium from Wolverine in a moment of pure cruelty, right? Which then you then flip back, and now Rogue and Sunspot are now back on the team, right? Like that's that's what great storytelling does, right? Like it leads you down these paths, it gives heroes choices, and then it'll often then be like, oh, but actually, you know, we do actually want to show this person is, you know, we're actually should be trending in this direction. So we'll show this ultimate moment of like actual cruelty to even counterbalance the empathy. For sure. And then, so.
For sure. So as things are going, you know, he unleashes all the hordes of Prime Sentinels, and they go to Wakanda, and we get to see Black Panther and the Dora Milaje. Like, never in a million years did I expect this on the show.
Getting goosebumps right now. Just getting them goosebumps right now.
And so you can see the Prime Sentinel's hand in this shot, and then they're about to bust through, and then he breaks the window, I think, and then the Dora Milaje just jump right out and like take down all those Sentinels.
It's
but
the costumes, right? They go on the offensive, which is
right away. But like, again, the talking about the language of these costumes, you know which one is in charge by the color scheme. And I mean, I don't imagine it's Okoye. I mean, maybe it is, and I don't know if she was.
I don't think it would be that time. This is T'Chaka, right?
This is T'Chaka.
Yeah, but I mean, in this universe,
sure, right?
Is she there for the transition between father to son? I don't know. I just love the idea that the Dora Milaje is there. Like, I know who the general is. It's so cool. Like, it's just great. It was so cool.
At this point in time, I think it would be a good time for me to flex a little bit. As our good viewers at home, I'm totally just taking. This is what I did with toying around with with his pod too. I just kind of took over a little bit. This is what I'm gonna do. As you can see by my tag here, Nigel Downer IG. I have an IG account just for my hats. So if you want to go and follow that. And so by proxy, since we are now, thank you. Since we're now talking about Black Panther, I thought maybe I'd flex a little bit and show you guys a little something. Now listen, I'm fully a company man. Okay, I got these very expensive hats. Right, this is a snapback. However, I also have these bad boys right here. Check this out. Huh? Yeah,
like
that Black Panther right there. Okay, and you know what? Boom, we got the Avengers on the back. Huh? Yeah, what? This one has not been worn. I haven't even worn this. Look at this patch. Look at this side patch. Look at that. Nice, huh? And then look at the other side. Purple? Are you kidding me? Get out of here. I will not, good sir, because I have more. Boom, check it out. What up, Miles? Huh? Am I right? Boom, look at that Spider-Man patch on the side. Boom, Marvel on the back. Got the blue on the side. Huh? What's up? Boom, Spider on the side. Okay. Am I done? No. Check this out. Boom. Another Spider-Man. Oh, and a pin. Look at this. Look at this pin. Spider-Man. You know what I mean? You know the one. All right. Second last is my own custom. Check out this Miles custom right here. Yeah, your boy did a little research. Painted the eyes in white there. Huh? So that's the same patch. Y'all seen it? Boom. Got the blue under there. And this is one that we didn't even drop, but you know what? The movie's coming up soon. Boom. Look at this. Let me take that little fluff off there. Get off there. Yeah. Comes with a pin. Huh? Get that pin. Get that pin there. Got that. Deadpool's out there. Yeah, look at that more on the back. Look at this. That's the thing. Even got the price tag on it because I haven't even worn it yet. Boom. That's it. That's all you get. Follow my IG. I got more.
Those are awesome.
Are those all? So are those like some of the? So you say some of those are custom?
Well, the one is custom that I made. So it's the Spider-Man one, and I realized that this one came out first.
Uh-huh.
So this one came out first, and I was like, "That's weird. This is one step away from being Miles. I don't understand why you just wouldn't do it. Because if you have this one as your Peter Parker, as your Spider-Man, and then you have this, we all know what's missing." So I was like, "All right." So I bought another one, and then I just painted it in myself.
Nice.
So it's the same hat, but I just painted it really delicately, and made it my own.
Are those new era caps?
They are. Yeah, the new era. I got them from Lids.
Right on.
Shout out to Lids. Yeah, they pay me no money for saying that, but I'm gonna let you guys know. Lids.
Fine.
Yeah. That's it. So yeah. Anyway, super stoked that Black Panther showed up. And again, to your point, Jason, like the Dora Milaje is there. It's just the world building. What an amazing job! Like how giddy was I? How giddy was everybody else? Just to see how deep this show is going to go. Amazing.
Yeah, and we're getting at least 2 more years of it, right? Or 2 more seasons.
Yeah, minimum. I'm hearing 4 now. I'm hearing 4. No joke, for real. I mean,
I'm not joking. It's joy.
Yeah,
it's just joy coming out of me.
Yeah.
Like to think that every March or whatever it's going to be, we're going to get 10 new episodes or whatever.
Yeah,
I'm so excited about it. It really brings that Saturday morning cartoon that like I can't wait to get up on Saturday morning vibe back to watching cartoons. It just happens to be on a Wednesday morning for me, but I love the idea that like I just want to run downstairs in my jammies, get a bowl of cereal, don't wake up mom or dad, and watch cartoons for hours. Yeah. It is so much fun. Ali's adding about Silver Samurai. He's been on camera a couple times too. He made it onto the show, so she's saying like, yeah, there's a hint of something. Maybe we're going to get some, maybe some time with. Oh, let me think about this. Okay, I'm going to make a connection. We know Wolverine doesn't have his adamantium.
Facts.
We know that Silver Samurai, he's got connection to adamantium too, doesn't he? In that one of the developers of that metal is.
No, that's from the movie, right?
It's Yukio's dad.
Is that from the actual like canon, or is that just
in the comics? He is the half brother of Mariko.
Yes,
and so he wants to, as like a crime boss, take over Shingen's territory. But I think something to do maybe with his armor. But we know that Yukio, her father, is the developer of adamantium, of the metal that gets used for Wolverine. So she's, sorry to spoil, she's going to come to try and claim his bones as her birthright. And I think Silver Samurai might get into that. Maybe something to do with his armor or his sword is also adamantium. So I wonder if if the Japanese underworld is going to come as part of season 2 in some way, and they're just putting it out there for reminders. I don't know, but fun. And Matters 2 is adding disappointed Magneto leading the team was practically only a tease. Figured they'd have that dangling plot around all season, but they kind of don't. Yeah, I mean, they, as Ali says here too, that like everything seems to be the fast shorthanded version. Like the Hellfire Gala was a second, the Genosha Extinction event, like it was a fast thing. Like things are all going by really quickly. Inferno was half an episode, So it's tough. They're really trying to condense so much into the amount of time they have available. Cloak and Dagger, I never expected. And at this point, I just was like, Power Man Iron Fist, let's go.
Yeah.
Man. I just wanted to see Power Man and Iron Fist. Like that's, I couldn't wait.
We always talk about, or not we always talk about, one thing we had said, we kind of joked about with kind of character cameos and things, and like what would make sense. And we were talking about like MCU, and we're talking about like Endgame and the time travel, and they go back to the Battle of New York. Like, how cool would it have been if they looked down an alley and there's Luke Cage and there's the Netflix heroes, right? Like Iron Fist, Jessica Jones, Daredevil, like fighting some Chitauri, right? It would be like, because you just get that, you get these characters all joining in, right?
The fact they did it with the Ancient One on the rooftop was like it added again that depth. Yeah. Like knowing that these characters are around in the world, It makes it so rich. So everyone's kind of going to protect their world leaders as the Prime Sentinels are zeroing in, right? They're going to Wakanda to get T'Chaka. They're going to the White House, and you see Iron Man and Captain America there. They're going after the leader of, it's 97, so it's Russia. And you get the Winter Guard. Is that their name? I think they're called the Winter Guard.
I think so.
So we get Dark Star there. And we get Crimson Dynamo, and we get Omega Red, looking after their world leader, their president.
Awesome.
It's cool, super cool.
When do you get to root for Omega Red?
In this moment?
Always.
That's the fun.
I'm always rooting for Omega Red.
I'm not even joking. Like when he was introduced in '92, like this guy, I was like, this is the guy. This is the guy. I was like, Sabretooth man. I was like, Omega Red. This is the guy. I mean, that's I'm about that guy. I'm picking him at least second in my draft.
You're buying whatever Jim Lee is selling.
Also that.
Yeah, I mean, I was no secret. I was already out of X-Men. Like right in that moment, I'm like, "Yep, done." But now I get it. Like he'll win me over on the cartoon. When he comes and we see him again in season 2 or 3, and there's like a whole episode, I will be 100% behind that. Okay, so then we got a shot, and this was, I'm pretty sure, just for me. We get the Bobier twins, North Star and Aurora, and Puck from Alpha Flight with Psylocke. And then there's someone, Michael's asking, who is behind Psylocke? I've already forgotten her name, but I just watched
I know it.
Oh, what's her name?
Cypher.
That's okay. I saw it today it was a civilian name. It wasn't the name Cypher.
Oh, okay.
But
I read that online. Maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe you are wrong. I mean, I know Cypher is being Doug Ramsey of the New Mutants.
But it's a different. No, it's like the new. It's CIPHER. It's like a different.
There can be
name.
Multiples for sure.
Yeah. Anyway.
So she's there on Genosha in the episode where they go to Genosha and there's the Extinction event. Like she's in a couple scenes. You see her there. So that's cool. So this is on Genosha, like in the rubble. I don't know why Puck is there. He's not a mutant, but of course he's welcome. I mean, he's pals with the Alpha Flight crew. So
he's repping Saskatchewan. That's what he's doing.
Yeah, man, just repping the prairies. Yeah, you know what I mean? Just repping the flatlands. I think it's like, for me, it's one of those things where it's like a couple characters make sense, and then either writers or a part of a creative team is just like, you know what if we just drop this character in there too?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not because it's so random, because he's still connected to the twins, but just random enough that it's like so much more of a deeper. Who knows if we'll ever get a cameo from Alpha Flight, but I that stuff makes me giddy. Yes, I know. Praise be. I know.
Well, and I think now to your point, I think it might be a nod to the episode with Alpha Flight from the original series, right?
Yeah.
So
just seeing those characters means the world to me, so I was super happy. But if you do know the name of this character behind Psylocke, feel free to throw it in the chat. Let's just go with Cypher for now until we're corrected by our amazing.
Matters to You says Wim. Is Wim the name of the character?
Perhaps they again go through multiple name changes, like Monica Rambeau. You get like 4 names for her, so all good.
Also, shout out to Ali and Chuck for just giving me love on my hats. So thank y'all for that. I forgot to mention. Continue.
No, it's all good.
I also love the Psylocke. I've also loved Psylocke too from time. Like her storyline is wild.
Yeah, it's wild. We'll get there when we read, and we'll have to ask you to come back to help us make sense of those issues because they're bonkers.
Yeah,
when she goes from being Betsy Braddock, the Brit, to the ninja assassin, to Jim Lee's favorite knockoff of Elektra.
Yeah,
Olivia Munn.
Olivia Munn. Oh, Michael.
There you go, Chris. You get a gold star. Michael's giving you one.
Yeah, Michael did a Google too.
Nice. So then, as all the characters are basically trapped by the Sentinels, and and Bastion is monologuing, we get Jean announcing her presence as she comes up out of the water for the second time in her history. I am Phoenix, like I'm the Phoenix, all that stuff. And there you go. Lots of good fun. I probably would have loved maybe a foreshadow that this was a possibility, because now you can just have it come out of nowhere, and like the level of power that she exhibits as she takes like, and DNA doesn't work like this. You can't just pull a double helix and just separate the pieces.
I think it does work like this. I think it does.
But a whole bunch of them too, like just strands and strands coming out of this guy's body.
I'm all for it. Like let's have fun. I love the fact that she can change things at the molecular level. I remember when Jean Grey in the comics would start to just change the clothes that she's wearing just with her telekinesis at such a powerful level. It's a molecular level. She could unstable the molecules herself. So I'm all good with that. Let's have some fun. I just maybe wanted a hint that there was that this was a possibility, because now it's sitting in the back pocket of the writers at the time. And she says at the end of the scene, oh, the Phoenix Force has left me. So now the Phoenix Force is back. Now the Phoenix Force left. There has to be, in really great storytelling where characters achieve a new level of power, everything comes at a cost. So if there was that thing where she gets to choose, okay, if I take on the Phoenix power, I have to give something, and it's going to change, but I have to save my friends. So my pinky finger, or sacrifice my life. I got to go with it. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to save everyone, then I got to go, and they're going to take me away, or whatever it is. I need a little more. It can't just be an act of convenience every time that Jean Grey needs to save her one. She can just go under the water, come out, and be Phoenix again.
I agree. I think what it is for me here, it does need to be more I think the struggle of having the Phoenix Force inside her should have been more clear or more apparent throughout episodes, where she's really, I'm trying to hold it back. You know what I mean? Something like that. So then when it finally takes over, we're oh, well, we saw that a couple episodes where she really was trying to, rein it in. Because I agree with you. I think it was just at that moment, just a little too convenient. It just happened just so kind of out of nowhere. That's my only gripe with this episode, is that there's things moving so fast that they're just happening so big, so quickly. Pacing was a little off, but it was just it's still wild to watch. Still had a fantastic time, but it was just a lot happening.
Or she turns into Dark Phoenix at this moment, and she becomes the new threat, right? Everyone's oh shit. Right.
I mean, in theory, she could go also save the asteroid. She could she could solve the whole episode, but she's only doing Phoenix Force for just that one moment. So it's, again, I'm willing to roll with it because I'm a fan and I'm enjoying it, and I'm enjoying the ride completely. If I have to go looking for a problem, oh, look at Chuck, look at this. It was definitely a Deus Ex Phoenix, Phoenixina. There you go. As opposed to a Deus Ex Machina, a Deus Ex Phoenixina.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's hard to say. Yeah. But yes, it was that. And it's forever there. You know what I mean? It's forever in the back pocket of the writers whenever they want to pull that one out. So it's too convenient, but it's all fine. We're just going to love it anyway.
Yeah.
Mr. Burns.
This is a great bit in this episode. This is a great bit. Morph just coming in hot with comic relief all day, every day.
I wish he had been meaner. Like, he's like, show me my face. I'm like, no, bitch.
You sure you want to see this?
Like, you don't have to obey this guy. I mean, come on. But that was fun. And then he takes Cable's arm, rips it off, and beats him with it, which is badass.
Wild.
And then absorbs it into his mechanics, which I thought was really cool. And I love the new look. There's something always about like the demon bat wings, which is, it evokes something powerful just visually. And then the fact they look razor sharp adds another element. I actually thought he's evoking, his name just escaped me.
Archangel?
No, the merger between Magneto and Professor X, like that villain.
Onslaught.
Onslaught. The way that his wings look reminds me of the Marvel Legends that I sold. I collected and then sold. I'm not trying to say it was alluding to it. None of that. Just it evoked it in me. Like when I saw it, my first thought was, oh my gosh, that reminds me of like Onslaught's silhouette, the way if the wings were bent down. But those sharp edges, those bat-like, armored up bat wings reminded me of I guess Azrael, Batman Azrael, and Onslaught. But I know it wasn't trying to go there. I understand. Just saying. That's all. There you go. Okay, done.
Yeah, this is Final Form Bastion, right?
No, there's one more.
Right. Yes, you're correct.
We're gonna get there. That's right. I like the arm beating mirroring beast the earlier episode. Yeah, man, when he takes and smack a sentinel with its own hand. That was good. But this looks so cool. And the Iron Man triangle, like the arc reactor thing from Iron Man 2. So meanwhile, in Magneto's head, things have fallen apart, right? He's losing control. We know that there's that great line, whatever he says, but if we go under, I'm here with you and we'll resurface together. Like this idea that we're going to drown, but like we can endure it. We can manage. Obviously, Magneto's hair is long, so now he's like a reflection of how he sees himself, not how like Xavier is manipulating a memory. It's like the real him's come out. Xavier's aged as well, and we get on the ocean, that boat, which shows you not just Rogue there, but also his 3 children, Polaris and the twins. It for some reason in silhouette, as if like he doesn't know that they're there. I'm not sure what that was. I mean, we all knew who they were. It's kind of an interesting touch, but he's losing it, which is great. Adding the tension.
Yeah,
I love. Sorry, go ahead, Nigel.
No, you do it.
I was going to say, I love what we have all these, like the science of it in our internal logic. Like it should have killed Bastion and given him the techno-organic virus a la Cable. And that should have led to the character's destruction. Like the idea that if he takes the arm, that's the demise. I mean, that's another way you could like plan it. If you know that he wants to incorporate different tech, you poison some tech, then he incorporates it, and then like after 5 minutes of fighting, he's like, I'm being the virus is in him, and then it takes him down. Now it's like another story, another way you do it. You find a way to beat him. Anyway, it's like me and the extra bag of chips. How they defeat me? You just put the chips out. I eat them. I get sick. I'm down for the night. So what were you going to say, Nige?
That's what I was going to say. I was like, I think I want to buy Jason a bag of chips. The relationship between Professor X and Magneto. It's a tale as old as time. The way that their relationship has always worked. I think Bo DeMaio and the team have just like has encapsulated what we all have wanted from different versions or different iterations of the two, in my opinion. Seeing them at the bar and just like, are we in Magneto's head? Are we not? Like, it was just so was just so cerebral for me, and it was just so touching, and I was so captivated and gripped by the dialogue and specifically each of their different tastes, like in terms of their dialect, in terms of how they describe things or talked about things. Like you really felt the feelings on both sides towards each other and with themselves. And it was so touching, man. Like you could really feel how the stakes were high for both of them, you know. And I really enjoyed the scenes with these two with no powers and just them. It was great.
Big time. You're yeah, I'm 100% with you on that. I thought it was really amazing. My daughter was super invested in a queer reading of this.
Yeah.
She was like, you know, she's watched She-Ra several times through the whole series.
The new version, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those conflicts as they come to a head, you know, there is such tension in the relationships. So she was really looking for it to go like one more step, and she was like at the edge of her chair, like, oh, they gotta kiss, they gotta kiss. And I was rooting for it because she's rooting for it, and it just like I'm, you know, excited to see. But they do get closer to each other a couple times, and it's I love that it is really open. Like you can read it whatever way you want, and it's in the DNA of the show that it's open to those interpretations.
The love is there. The love is real, right? And I mean, you know, again, to your point, it doesn't necessarily have to be romantic love or whatever you want, you know, but that like their relationship, like this whole piece is really the story is about the two of them and like their friendship, their camaraderie, their bond, being the two of this new evolution of human being, being the two real you know, the two who really move it forward in different directions, but you know, like the first two in the 20th century, like of the emergence of the you know, mutants as a piece, right? So it's here. Like this is the eternal struggle. This is the where so much the impact comes from, right? I think which is why they spent so much time in this episode in this headspace.
Yeah, because that's the climax.
Mm-hmm.
It is about these two. The whole season's been about these two. Mm-hmm. I mean, there are obviously B stories and C stories and D stories, but like the A story is these guys and how the world changes, how they see each other and how they see the world and where it's going to go from there. It has been really powerful. Tying this back to the comics, you know, and just to push at you, Nigel, just a little bit, like this idea that it's always been that, it really hasn't. That's the whole thing is like the Magneto story where he and Charles have something, have a bond. I mean, only starts happening around 1980, 81, 82, where Claremont's now been writing for 50 issues, and he starts to write Magneto, shifting him towards being that sympathetic villain and having, like, he has a moment where he is trying to defeat the X-Men and he hurts Kitty Pryde and then sees this girl that he thinks is dead on the floor, and she has her Jewish star necklace, and he's then goes, oh my God, that's like, oh my sister, oh, you know, I lost my whole family. And he's like, have I been wrong all along? And then Claremont takes him on this journey. So we're now 50 issues into X-Men on his journey, and we're going to get him you know, in front of the court. I'm looking for that issue, trying to pull it out, but it's not on that spot. Anyway, we're going to get toward this version we see on screen like over the next 100 issues, and now it's become like that's who they are. They are now the flip sides of the same coin. You know, the movie solidified that by having them have that history, and it's just like that's just what X-Men is now. Is their dynamic, but it wasn't always that way. It used to be much more superficial or just like surface level, just hero villain, arch enemies, not like longtime friends, brothers, deep relationship. Like this is a modern reading of it, and it's way better now, much more powerful.
Can you do me a favor? Can you do, Jason? Can you just do a thumbs up again, real quick? Just do a thumbs up on your screen.
Do you want one or two?
Just do one. How did that? Okay, it was weird because you did that when you were.
It came up. Use the other thumb.
Oh, there it is. You're giving this great monologue, and all of a sudden, maybe this is the part where, like, now I start to tune in, like, we're an hour deep. I think I've missed all of the, like, I always jump into your pods and then I jump out. So I think I've missed all of this action whenever you guys have done it.
No, it's a new thing. I didn't even know my computer did it.
Oh, really ridiculous.
It's not on purpose.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's fine. Your
I
computer.
think it adds something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it adds a lot to the show.
Yeah.
So, all that happens, things are collapsing inside of Magneto's brain, and Bastion makes his way up to. He takes off with the new tech, and he flies up to Asteroid M as it's crashing down, and confronts the X-Men. There was an awesome part where Nightcrawler. Did that already happen? I think by this point, he fights with Nightcrawler on his way in, or maybe that's in a bit. But there's like a scene where Nightcrawler is just one-on-one with him, and I was so scared for that little guy because he's just not physically equipped to take a punch from Bastion. I love the idea that he can dish it, but maybe he could like teleport his arm away or teleport really hurt him by teleporting him into put him in the wall or something like that. But either way, Rogue steps up as Bastion. I think at this point he starts to he attacks the core and destabilizes it, and these are the waves of like the core exploding kind of, and Rogue punches him, like gets really heavy and takes him outside, which was awesome. She
rearranges. She literally rearranges his face.
Yes, and that I would argue is like the final form that he gets with his.
He does the. I don't know, what is that? What am I thinking of?
Yeah, the movie. It's not Terminator. What is that? Yeah.
What is that?
Well, there's other things like Men in Black. There's like. Vincent D'Onofrio famously has like the insect that he's
the Edgar
like
suit.
An alien in his
the Edgar suit.
There's a few things where
I was going to say like Agent Smith from the Matrix. I think he does
a Matrixy, right?
Like, but I know what you're saying. Yeah, I'm on board.
Oh, and then they of course we got to see Mary Jane, Peter, and Flash Thompson.
And Flash.
Listen, the nerds lost their minds. Like this, out of all of the Easter eggs or all of like storylines that were unfinished, like that we've ever seen, like this one, man, like people were losing it. Like I was watching all the videos, all the recap videos, and people were just like, he found her, like people were just losing their mind. I love it. I think it's great.
So Chris, do you know what we're talking about?
Yeah, this is the Spider-Man animated series.
Yeah.
But at that series left it that the two of them weren't together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So the fact that they're together in this means that they got back together.
Well, I lose my mind too then.
See? You're welcome.
So the whole fight, like Chuck is talking about the blue area on the moon. Do you guys know what the blue area on the moon is?
Yeah.
It's okay. So anyone out there who doesn't know, this is like a Jack Kirby Stan Lee thing, way back from the FF, the Inhumans, and several civilizations have lived in an area on the moon known as the blue area, where it has atmosphere still. And famously in the Dark Phoenix saga, in the last chapter, when the X-Men fight to save Phoenix's life, they battle the Imperial Guard on the blue area of the moon. So seeing that like Kirby-esque architecture and like, through John Byrne's lens, it was awesome. It's like such a nostalgia thing. So really cool. And then they decide, now that the fight's happening and like that asteroid's coming down, they're going to invoke the Magneto protocols. And this is where we're like, it's confirmed it's T'Chaka, not T'Challa.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know up until that point. And he basically compares like, this is going to damage everyone. Like history is going to look bad on all of this. And
the books you should be thinking about or something like that, right?
He mentions
really great line. It's a really great
history book in the Bible. Like you better hope that your children. I don't know. I can't remember how he phrased it. It was eloquent, but
it was.
The idea
it was the kind of line you'd expect from like T'Chaka or T'Challa. Like I mean, like totally.
Yeah.
Like, you're like,
Panther.
You're right.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. I wish I had a better one of this. I want to get past this as fast as possible. So then Bastion returns. He's fought everyone a little bit again. He has a fight with Jubilee where she looks like she kind of levels up or uses her powers in a way that I didn't expect.
I agree.
Fights Sunspot again and like had that fight with Rogue outside. And then a Sentinel, as he calls his children home, the Sentinel comes crashing in. And it's the whole crew in the Trojan horse joke. They were all inside the Sentinel and they've stomped on him.
Yeah.
And they're trying to fight with him, like beasts. Like it's it's overheating. Can't take the strain. It's all gonna break, and they're all fighting at him. And Cyclops, the whole thing, big fight. But then Cyclops has that realization as they make that future line about it, that he is the future. He's like this inevitable future again, and he has this moment of clarity where, like, if he's this inevitable future for this species, he's us. He's the dark mirror, right? He's the techno version of us. Not with cool beats, but I mean, like, or not cool beats, depending on your taste. But like that we are a genetic future. He is a hybrid. Again, he's another version of the future. We should welcome him. Not be fighting him. How did you guys feel about that part?
I don't know if I should answer or let Chris think some more. I don't know.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
I'm now, upon reflection, because when I was in the throes of it, I was like, "Oh, interesting idea." Like, again, it kind of threw me a little bit watching it. I love the idea. I'm just not sure now, reflecting on it. I have to watch the episode again for like the third or fourth time. Because I'm not sure, but I understand why. We've seen it before, but I think this one was a little different because you'd think it would just be an all-out battle, just kind of to the death. Let's just get this guy out of the system. But then to try and get him on board, get him on our side was a little. I don't know. It seemed like it'd be a tall order, especially after everything we've already went through. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Nigel, on that one, because I believe like they do try, like within the confines of the story itself, like Bastion's incredibly clear all the time that he wants nothing to do with them, right? I mean, he's quite vocal about either wanting to try to kill them and dispose of them or whatever, right? And so I think it's neat. I think it's actually I think it says a lot about the character of Cyclops to actually have that moment and to stop and to say, wait a minute, we should do the thing that we haven't tried yet, which is actually just actually try to accept, right? And of course that mirrors the parallel of their own struggle with humanity, really. And then of course you have it's like a moment broken up by, of course, the impending missile strike. And you have a moment afterwards of them trying to connect. He's like, I don't know if you have a slide for that, Jay. I don't know how far you want to go, but that whole, join us, come with it, join the, all branch holds out the hand, and he does try to go for it, but then he gets sucked into he then kind of,
he leans into it.
Yeah.
He's
right.
Like, and
right.
And he leans
right,
into like a almost like a black hole vortex of white. A white hole, which, by the way, is Chris's other Instagram handle, but don't go look it up.
Do it. Everybody follow it. Yeah, I think you're right, man. And I think that's what I think. What am I trying to say here? I think maybe that's partially what the struggle was for me, was just why would you do that? But then it's like, yeah, maybe that is, and Chris, you said it, this is the alternative method. Maybe this is something that we haven't tried this. Let's just try this part. Let's just chat to the dude for 1 second. Let's really talk to you about what you want to do here, what we're doing, and who you've become. And I think that is a true testament to Cyclops and his character arc, man, through this whole thing. I mean, if he didn't become one of your top X-Men in this show, I'm not talking about the comic books, but in the show, then you haven't watched the show proper. Because I watched episode 1 again recently, and I was like, yo, they knew too. I think Bo and the rest of the team was like, hey, the first thing we got to do, clean up Cyclops' rep. That's the first thing we got to do.
Yeah.
Because when he comes in hot,
yeah.
you know what I mean? When Storm and Bishop and they're fighting, you know, the Friends community, and then they're not doing so well, and this guy comes in, Blaze of Glory, get out of here, man. You're like, oh, catapulted up. So anyway, so I think, yeah, this is a cool testament of his character and trying to navigate or trying to think of a new way to instead of keep fighting all the time. We're all the same. We're the same. Why are we fighting all the time? We should be fighting the other people that are against us fully. So,
I'll tell you why you should be fighting all the time.
tell me.
He killed Gambit.
Listen, Rogue does not disagree with you.
Yes, she does. She's standing there.
I know, but you can still see in that stance. That stance still, look, her fists are clutched. That stance is still like, as soon as this goes south, she's like, I'm gonna be the first one back to giving this guy a knuckle sandwich. That episode 2 when she goes off and we see full Rogue. I know you guys probably talked about that already.
Sure.
So great, man. Just
It's
the emotion,
awesome.
raw emotion.
Hey,
anyway.
Speaking of, just before, because we've been talking about so many some cameos and stuff. I caught one, and Rogue specifically, speaking of connecting, there's a lineup, there's a shot on time of lineups of Prime Sentinels, and one very much looks like Carol Danvers. Like they have this, like the helmet part on, and it's like, oh wow, like this is not just, this could be this particular thing could be anyway. It's also amongst heroes too, or characters that we're aware of. But, you know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It could be also that Cyclops is thinking that like we actually can't defeat him. Like we want to punch him to death. We actually can't defeat him. Maybe the way to defeat him is like for all of us to relax.
Yeah, talk him off.
And then when he's not looking, stab him in the head.
Yeah.
Oh, showed up. Hey, buddy, you okay? He's good. He's excited to see me wagging his tail. But that's all cool. So I wonder if like you could get him to agree to turn off the Sentinels, but you know, that's the part of the title. The tolerance is extinction. So by human beings tolerating, who is tolerating who? By the mutants tolerating the humans, it will cause their own extinction.
Yeah, that sounds right to me.
Or by humans tolerating mutants, it'll cause the mutants' extinction?
No, because I think it's the mutants tolerating humans because they could off humans no problem. So I think it's them.
Or by the humans tolerating the Prime Sentinel tech upgrade, it will cause the humans' extinction.
Interesting.
Or the mutants' extinction. I don't know.
All of them.
Yeah. But I like Cyclops in this costume. Let's get off this slide because it's ugly.
Bye.
This is also where when they've invoked the Magneto protocols, the missiles, it's all gonna go, they're all gonna die. We get the awesome scene where Morph goes over to say I love you to Wolverine, which was beautiful and caused, like fun uproar, but come on, there's no controversy, no fuss. It's like, yeah, that's what the characters are. Whatever relationship they have, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah, fun. What else is here? Oh, so then the explosion, he goes in the thing, and then Professor X wakes up, like Magneto, together they make it all go nice. They fix the satellite. They put it back in orbit. It's all fixed because of Magneto's like, let's do this. Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then the whole thing explodes.
Yeah.
And they're all gone. Yeah. And then we get this beautiful thing. 6 months after E-Day, as they call it, like Extinction Day. You guys hear my kid coughing?
Yeah.
You just come home from hockey.
Put your kid on
you
mute.
Okay?
Man. Put him on mute.
Yeah, man.
All right. The my door's open. Yeah. Yeah. No more coughing. How was hockey?
Yeah,
anyway.
Great.
Cool.
A shout out to Chuck when he was like, nice bit of animation to show Logan's breath inside the mask. I know it was the last slide, but just want to touch on that real quick. That for me, I noticed that right away too. That for me is like the little detail, just like Doctor Strange wearing a mask. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't. Why would he? It just feels like that kind of a hero, that kind of level. You don't need to do those kind of things, but doing that not only humanizes them, but just makes the connection so much more real. It's just a nice little detail. So yeah, shout out to you, Chuck, for noticing that too. And back to this board. And, you know, Forge is looking at all these heroes, you know, he's looking at all these people, and it's so fascinating to see, again, so many more, you know, just people that they can dip into other stories and to meet and to, you know, it's fascinating because some of them are so super obscure. Like Dust is in there. Like I know who she is, but I mean, just like that's a more current character, and like Havoc, great, but that's old school. Or no, X Factor Havoc, like with the high collar and stuff, which is really fun. You know, then Iceman, because I know everybody's like, yo, but where's Iceman at? Which is great. Magic, obviously, like it's just so many great characters on that board. And you're like, oh man, what's up?
I really would love it if like the New Mutants were a thing, because like
that'd be sick.
So she's got the costume on, which means she's been a student at the school, and we saw Morph turn her into her. So she's been a student at the school. She's worn that suit. You know, you get Roberto in that thing now too. So maybe it's that team already exists, and he's like Roberto is a holdover. They didn't like have him on. So maybe there is a New Mutants group that is somewhere, but they, you know, obviously weren't present during the events of Genosha or anything on the show or in X-Men, the animated series for that matter. So I also don't like Shadowcat. Like she's one of my faves. Where's she been? Like, what is? I can't wait to find it. Like, what is? How does she exist in this show? You know, is she a character that was like? If you now imagine that the 1988 pilot, Pride of the X-Men, is canon. Hold the big asterisks.
Yeah. Colossus
isn't on the team because he's introduced in the animated series later. Dazzler, hit or miss, you decide. Nightcrawler's not on the team either, but like the overall theme, the overall event of it, where, you know, Kitty Pryde joins, they train her for a bit, they have the dust up with Magneto and the Brotherhood, and when it's over, it's over. That team exists for a little while before X-Men the animated series. So like maybe she's had a run on the X-Men and she's gone by the time Jubilee arrives.
Now, isn't this Excalibur Shadowcat though, or no?
It is, and
which is, that's my only like pushback or rebuttal to what you're saying. Like I fully on board, but I feel like it's the simple answer is like, yo, Excalibur might be out there. Like, you know what I mean? That's
right.
Kind of
there's another team based in England.
Yeah.
It could just be that. There's another team based in England.
Right.
And she was never on the X-Men, is what you're saying? Even though the Excalibur team members were, other than Cat and Britain and Megan they were X-Men.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Phoenix, Nightcrawler, and Shadowcat. So yes, this is a look she had then, especially the way her hair is parted. Like that's Alan Davis who drew that face almost. You know, right out of that. But she was wearing that costume when she was in X-Men 2 before the events of the Mutant Massacre. So, like, also Colossus is wearing the uniform. So, has he? Because in the show, he didn't wear the uniform ever. He wore like a tank top, his undershirt.
Right.
You know, so I'm excited for them to either like retcon it a little bit and suggest like there is a version where these guys were on the team. Or I want to hear the story where whatever happens. Like, I can't wait for all that stuff.
And it's also, or, I mean, even we don't even have to think about it as such as this is a fun thing, right? They're like, They're like, hey, listen, Colossus and Shadowcat are classic members of the team. You know, they're up there. Iceman was the only original one we didn't talk about. Yeah. Except Angel's there. You know, got to have Havoc in there in the 90s look. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, and also, but Emma Frost, now you're talking Astonishing X-Men, like Magic's the New Mutants. You got all of them. The one thing, too, is you've got the twins, Scarlet Witch and Off-World. I'm like, oh, what does that mean?
I love it.
What does that mean?
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I love it. I can't wait to find out about it.
Like, yeah, they're just throwing stuff in. They're like, we've got a 3-second clip as he scans a board. You're like, what can we put in there?
Can you imagine if, like, they're on the Avengers? You know, like, okay,
Yeah.
that's super cool.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Who's Exodus? Because I know there's someone that's like a deep cut, weird choice. Who is Exodus? Anyone? Oh, everybody knows that. No one?
Anyway, so what's the next slide? I don't know who. Did I read anything? I don't know who Exodus is.
That's not Exodus.
No.
So obviously the characters, we now meet up with them. They've been blown across time. We see some of the X-Men are, 3,000 years BC. We see some of the characters are I don't remember how far into the future they were, but basically the team looks like it's split in two and scattered across time, but at either end of a timeline where we know that, the big reveal of that guy. Nope, that guy plays a role. We're going to get an apocalypse world. So Mother Ascani. I guess you guys did all the same research I did. Did you look to see who this is, Mother Ascani?
Yep.
Chris, did you know who she is?
I think I've forgotten already. So tell me again. That's right. It's the shadow of Wolverine as a person, right?
It's Rachel Summers. So it's Rachel Summers who eventually becomes the caregiver, in the future of young Cable. In this,
right. She's got they've given her the mark still, right?
You can see her hound
in her face,
tattoos.
Right? Mm-hmm.
I'm just looking for a good picture of her in this issue that we're supposed to have started reading an hour ago. So she's there. So Mother Ascani is there. And in terms of like other fan things, do you guys know who did the voice?
Nope. Tom K. Jensen.
An actress named Gates McFadden.
Yes, from Star Trek Next Generation. Yes.
Beverly Crusher.
Dr. Beverly Crusher is like, what a great idea to get her in here. Like, I love the idea of bringing in some genre people just to even make the show richer within fan culture. So, like, she'll go to the con, she'll be at Fan Expo or something, and people are going to want they're going to want some juice about this. Like, it's such a fun thing to have her in there. And then she reveals to the Summers, like it's not Madeline, Jean Grey and Cyclops are here in this world, and they reveal, coming out from behind all these guards is young Nathan Summers. This is where he moved, forward in time, and clearly he's in a garb that looks like this whole world, this Mad Max post-apocalyptic world. It has that really like a deep-rooted, I guess, like Egyptian aesthetic to it. So that means like this world has been basically influenced by millennia, 5 millennia of apocalypse, which is crazy. Very crazy. Exciting. And then we get the flashback. So we get to see back in the 5,000 years earlier where the X-Men that are still around, they meet young Apocalypse here. And he has that mouth thing.
Young boyish Apocalypse.
Yeah, it is fascinating. By the way, Chris, just to say, to talk a little Group of 7 with you for a second.
Oh, sure.
The guards that were trying to fight him, the guards that were trying to fight him were using the kind of sword that
it's
this
called
character,
Kesnet, or it starts with a K.
Good job.
An Egyptian sword starts with a K. I'm gonna find it.
And then, if anyone out there did not know, there was an extra scene early on in the credits. We got a moment where Apocalypse in the current timeline goes to Genosha and blows the ash off of the Queen of Hearts and mentions the word death, inferring, we all knew, inferring that Gambit will be resurrected as the horseman, one of the 4 horsemen of Apocalypse, namely Death. So, yeah.
Which is part of the Gambit chronology, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, that's right from the comics, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
It's called a Capesh, by the way.
Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome.
Starts with a K. Good one.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it was Ali says, I marked out so hard. Yeah, it was really, really fun. I mean, obviously, if this is stuff that means something to us, which obviously it does, like this episode was so much fun and so big. I can't believe they did this. I'm in awe of the whole thing.
Yeah, I think, and I'm in my head, I'm playing back the conversations that we just had talking about this episode, and like, oh yeah, shout out to Angel Wright, the first Horseman of Death, yeah. And it was such a trip, man, because I know Jason, like you and Kevin were the two dudes that I messaged like immediately after I watched the episode. Immediately, I messaged these two nerds, and I was like, "Yo, you guys watch?" I put no context at all, and both of you guys knew exactly what I was talking about. I know, and then Kevin's just like, "Yeah, dude, I'm watching it for the second time right now. It's wild." But also, I just want to go back to very quickly when Cyclops is trying to talk down Bastion. We try to talk him down, and then we have the then the bombs go up and the asteroid blows up. You're right, man. That was such a great moment in juxtaposition in pacing and in like story. Just in everything seems like it's going to be calm. I might have missed it because I was late into this. My apologies for that. But did you guys talk about the conversation with Gene and Scott and that they had with Cable at the dining? Okay. But like moments like that, man, were just so riveting and so touching and heartfelt. And I was like, man, I love this show, man. Like I love this show. And then when we have all these post credits and just like the end and all these like this group is here and that group is there, it's just thank you for that, guys, because it just makes the show makes you feel like there is somewhere to go. It's not like, well, we'll see. We're just gonna give you much of the same next season or next couple seasons. Now it's like, I can't wait to see how the band gets back together. Right?
Yeah,
it's just such a great. Yeah,
I love scattering them across again millennia.
So great,
having them all over the place. Like we have no idea what's coming in. I mean, in the broadest sense, we do, but in the day-to-day version of the show, it left such a fun cliffhanger. Like, where are they? We don't even know where the X-Men are.
There was
we have three timelines going. Like, what's happening in the ancient past, what's happening in the post-apocalyptic future, and what's happening with like the effort to find them from Forge's team. Like, just awesome. Awesome.
I think it was in the mid 2000s. A friend of mine went to the Calgary Stampede for the first time. Don't worry, I'm going to get to somewhere. He goes to the Calgary Stampede for the first time. He's a brother, comes back to Toronto and is like, yo, we got to go to the Stampede. We're like, what? No. Okay, we'll do it. So then 4 of us go to the Stampede. We're like, oh my goodness, this was the most fun. The next year, I think it was 12 of us went to the Stampede. And then we also amalgamated with a couple other guys that are Calgary locals that are great friends of ours. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because we don't know where the X-Men are. We don't know where, they're in different places, different times. We went to one of the events of the Stampede. And then because there's so many of us, we were like, look, this group's going to do this. This group's going to do that. We all just kind of broke off. And literally out of nowhere, about 2 hours later, we all seemed to just meet up at the same road. And I was in a shopping cart and my best friend was pushing me in the shopping cart. And there's a couple people that just we just came out of nowhere and met up. And it was that. It was so I hope that when the X-Men show comes back and when they do get the band back together, it's as wild of a time as it is at the Calgary Stampede.
Are you saying that the X-Men are at the Calgary Stampede?
Some of them are. Yes.
It's called Issue when they fight Alpha Flight because that's the Calgary Stampede.
Yeah. 120 and 121.
There it is.
Right. Yeah, that's too funny.
I know.
Yeah, no, I love the idea that they're going to converge at some point. There will be something where they'll make choices and they'll have to get back together, whether it's by their own actions or by things that happen to them. Hopefully it's their choices. They and they get to come back to face it like urgently have to face something. Like you got to get back to do some heroing. But it is the best superhero cartoon since what? I mean, is this? I don't even have to ask. Like, is this better than the Justice League cartoon, the original one from the early 2000s? There are moments in that series that I love forever. I wonder if this is better. You can't say this is better than Batman the Animated Series yet, because it hasn't only been 10 episodes, and that one, like, I don't know, man. This might be the most excited I've been about a cartoon in 30 years.
Well, I think that's your answer, man. I think it's because I refuse to get into this discussion.
Yeah, I don't gotta rank
because I feel like they're just different times. Like each one of them had accomplished so many things when they came out in their era. Like Batman, we could not get enough of, because we just never, Bruce Timm and the rest of the team, we had never seen anything like that before. And then that, like, the ripple effect of that style of illustration lasted for decades.
It's still going.
And it's still going, and it's still, has this massive effect. So yeah, it's hard to say, man, because I think they're all number one in their own right.
Yeah, I shouldn't try and make it a competition. I don't know why I would even bring that up.
How dare you?
Yeah, sure.
I'm really, really, really excited by what they gave us, and it just doesn't feel like an MCU thing. It feels something so much more special than everything we've gotten since. I mean, it's my favorite MCU thing since Endgame. If we're gonna say that it is MCU, which is fine. Yeah, I'm loving it. Absolutely loving it. Yeah, really, really cool.
So cool.
Yeah, I wonder, like we know in our heads what they're pitching for next year, right? We're going to have characters in the future. We're going to have characters in the alternate future, characters in the past. The great thing in my head is, like, that can be resolved in 2 episodes. And then who knows what the other 8 episodes are going to be. Like, we have no idea. They can do whatever they want.
Well, and to the chat's point earlier, Ali brought it up and a few others. They have such. I skimmed over like massive storylines in 1 or 2 episodes or half an episode, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, they have the 50 years of publication history, whatever it is, at their disposal to mine, to go back and throw a couple episodes into to represent X, and a couple episodes that represent Y. You know what I mean? Like, they can do that, right?
Sure. Yeah. Matters to you says
straight out. He's like 1, 2.
Yeah.
Batman animated series number 2 is X-Men. I'm assuming you're meaning this X-Men. Number 3, Spider-Man. No way. Number 4, Justice League Unlimited, and number 5, The Tick. I have not watched The Tick. That's a great list, though. Like, to think that we've gotten all those shows. I mean, I still just can't believe this thing even exists.
Jason also throws in the first season of Young Justice, which
yes,
Young Justice. For sure. Oh, what a great series! Yeah.
I thought Young Justice got even better as it went on. Like for when they went like however many years ahead.
Yeah.
And we got Dick Grayson turning into Nightwing, and I loved. Yeah, I like something in me gets tickled by the idea of, like, characters in a cohort. Mm-hmm. So, like, you know how there's with Teen Titans, there's like that first wave, but each of them has a successor, and they are themselves each an apprentice of a master in the Justice League. I love that, like, that cohort thing. Yeah, and like how their costumes are different, but they look aligned. It just tickles. I love that stuff. So I'm a big fan of all that. Get on The Tick, Chuck says. It's brilliant. And then he yells the word spoon, which I'm guessing means something if you've watched The Tick. I have not watched any iteration of The Tick. Been what, two live action and 1 cartoon?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah, the live actions are pretty good too. Listen, we're not going down this road, but I was like, you know what? I'm not even gonna let's carry on.
I have a follow-up to take us back. Don't worry.
Well, just because if we're going obscure like The Tick, I mean, for me, then I would throw in Venture Brothers. You know what I mean? Because I just feel like, yeah, see, see what I'm saying? Like it. I know we're now leaving the superhero genre a little bit, but at the same time, we do have we do have that kind of giant quest. Like we satire.
Actually, I'm gonna agree with you. So I'm a big fan of thinking about genres as mixes, as mixing of genre.
Yeah.
So, for instance, you get a heroic journey with a fantasy element, and in space, and it's Star Wars. But the prime genre that builds the story structure is heroic journey. The fact that it's like space magic is not the genre; it's the flavor on the genre.
Right.
So I would argue that like this is a superhero show in terms of like all the pieces. The genre is superhero. So is Batman. With The Tick, it's satire, and it's the dressing on the satire is superhero. But like the structure of it, the plots, they're comedies. Right. And then Venture Brothers is also like this absurd comedy. And whether it's like the making fun of the spy world or the boy genius culture, like all those other things, that's just the dressing on top of the comedy as being the actual genre. Not a remix, Chuck. I mean a mix, like a blend. So it's not just one genre, it's a mix of genres, and one is like the dominant. So I generally, other than Venture Brothers, I like my superheroes straight up. I don't like them being made fun of. I take it too seriously. I'm like,
we know.
Man, Tick's not a joke. He's a superhero. Don't make fun of the Tick. So for me to like get into Teen Titans Go, or to get into even like Batman 66, I gotta take a stiff drink and like just be like, okay, Jason, relax. Go and just have it's a joke, man. Just go have the joke. It's all good. The thing I was gonna say before was about I did the Tick, the genres. Yeah, I'm good there, man. Spoon is the Tick's battle cry. Okay, cool. Yeah, Venture Brothers. When I first saw that, by the way, I was on vacation in Florida in the early 2000s or late 90s. I guess early 2000s, and I saw it on Cartoon Network, and I said that I thought that cartoon was made just for me. Like I'd never heard of it before, being from Canada, and no one I knew had ever heard of Venture Brothers, and no one I knew had ever seen it. So when I was describing it, it was like I'm just describing a show that's only made for me. Everything about it was like directly right at me. So I love that show. And it's insane. Like the G.I. Joe stuff, like that, they're only making those jokes for me. That's just that show doesn't exist for anyone else but me. Okay, quick X-Men thing. Or action figure X-Men thing, I should say. Look what I got my hands on. Do you know what this is?
Oh yeah. One of the not Marauders. What's the crew called? Yeah. Oh, you got the builder in the bath. The Reavers. Thank you. Yeah. The Reavers, huh?
Yeah, man. I just got my hands on. This is Pretty Boy of the Reavers.
Is that like a joke name because he only has a metal body but a real head?
His face is like he's a charmer, and I think there was we'll get there in a couple of years with the comic, but I think there was an episode or an issue where you can't tell that he doesn't have flesh. And it's sort of like revealed when he's in a moment of violence that he's actually just a robotic structure.
Not so pretty.
That one just arrived from Denver, Colorado.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that. So it's 10:40, which means we've been doing this for an hour and 40 minutes. This usually takes us between half an hour and 45 minutes. I'm going to put a suggestion out there. I'm going to suggest that we talk a little bit about comics, not this issue per se, but about the thing that comes directly before it, which is that, for a couple minutes, then call it a night, and next week tackle this one. And Nigel, you are most welcome to join us next week if you're available.
Yeah.
To read through this one, but I don't want to keep us on here till 2 a.m. because this has got some meat on the bone. There's lots to talk about.
Yeah.
And we're faithfully going through these issues one by one. But if you want to come back next week and go through X-Men 196, I'd be so happy to give it the time it deserves, because there's some Magneto joins the team, and it's a huge connection to what we've just been through on the animated series. So I don't know. I'll leave it. You don't have to answer unless you want to, but
okay,
the offer's out there for you.
Great. I say no. I hate you guys. This pod's boring. No. Now, never. That's came across way too harsh. I would love to, sincerely, absolutely, because I realized, one, that I talk too much. I get really passionate about things that I love in X-Men 97, and I felt like we just kept it moving, or kept it going. So yeah, man, and I would love to read this comic book because this has been fun. You guys are fantastic. The chat is lighting it up. This is great. So please, I'll put it in my calendar, and I will see you guys next week. Absolutely.
That's awesome, but don't go anywhere. So
okay.
Just to
yes, Ali, thank you.
Yeah, Ali's great, by the way. We're really glad she's been here all these last few weeks. It's been
awesome.
It's been a great addition to the crew. So in this issue, we basically not what I wanted. Sorry, guys. Let me get this right. Let's add this back in. I can do this.
So is it issue 195?
There we go. No, 196.
Oh, you.
So one of the things that happens in it is that it starts right away with Magneto part of the group, and it doesn't really ever get us there in the issue before. So the issue just before this, in 195, there was a part where they're on an adventure and they get a call back to the mansion. They're like, oh, but it's not Professor X. It's from Magneto. And he has not been seen or heard of in the X-Men comics for a long, long, long time. And when we last saw him, there was a one page where he just gets washed up. His body is floating in the Atlantic Ocean, and he bumps up against a boat and they fish him out. They're like, oh, he's got all this armor on. Who is this? They realize it's Magneto. So I just wanted to sort of catch us a little bit up to speed as to what happens right before the issue we're going to read now next week, which is the events of Secret Wars 2 have just started in Marvel. And if you haven't read Secret Wars 1, there is basically it's all very contrived. There's an entity called the Beyonder. Nigel, have you read it?
A little bit here and there. This is one of those things that I really need to dig into.
No, you don't. It's okay.
Okay.
It's again, it's just a chance for all the toys to play with each other, to mash the toys together. So there's the conceit is that there's this all-powerful yet naive being that wants to have experiences, and he brings all of the superheroes and villains from Earth together on Battle World to see what will win, good or bad. Now, from that, it's now he wants to come to Earth and have more experiences. So he's showing up, and it's just a chance for him to dip into each comic series and go across the months. So now he's in Thor. Now he's in this. Each group sees the Beyonder for a minute and has an encounter. So the encounter that he has quickly with the X-Men is Professor X is at a Muir Isle with the New Mutants, and so he has his moment where he's like, oh my God, the Beyonder's here. And they're like, Charles, chill out, dude. And he fainted. Then the X-Men get called to the X-Mansion, and Colossus and Nightcrawler are chatting, and Magneto's there in this costume for reasons. He's just there. And they're like, what are you doing? He's like, I got to tell you guys, the Beyonder's coming. We got to do something. The X-Men all come crashing through the window, and they're like, they want to fight. And it's just look at all that talking. It's really just everyone's ah! It's just insane. So this isn't Chris Claremont writing it?
Is this the first appearance of Magneto in that costume?
Here, I don't know. I bet you he showed up in the New Mutants because
there
were a whole bunch of issues between issue 23 and issue 29 where he gets picked up by Lee Forrester, the boat captain, gets taken to that island in the Bermuda Triangle that we see in older X-Men comics around 150 at the end of the Dave Cockrum run. And he has a romantic relationship with Lee Forrester. And then...
How does it make Cyclops feel?
So that's Cyclops' ex before Madeline. He was doing it with the boat captain. But anyway, so this is a non-Claremont X-Men. But I just wanted it to be out there that this is their first time working together. So they decide they're going to get in a car in with the limo and like magnet fly out to LA to fight to get more mutants and fight the Beyonder. So I just wanted you to see that it existed. And they find some mutants. They're like being gladiators. So I think Cannonball's there and Sunspot and Leela Cheney.
But look at all that words, man.
Dazzler.
Wow, look at them words.
And this is where he's like, makes one of those entrances that could be one of the greatest moments. He's coming to rescue mutants that are in a gladiatorial ring. They're fighting a dinosaur, but it's just so word heavy and insane. But I Am Magneto in that costume feels like it could be an iconic moment, but it just isn't because of the way it's portrayed. But that's full on the costume. But here he's got like pointy shoulders, and but that scarfy like cape is kind of there.
And the Quicksilver hair, right? I guess.
And the Quicksilver hair as opposed to the long hair.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of people who have kit bashed the Quicksilver figure and the Magneto figure to kind of make it that look, but he doesn't look right anyway. And the other piece of it is he doesn't wear. He doesn't have. Who was it calling it? Like the long fancy lady driving gloves.
Yeah.
Like he has gloves to here, and there's like an armband. A one band up on the bicep, which is maybe cooler. And I don't know if anyone's going to ever change that. Anyway, they go have a huge fight. There's this dude who gets powered by the Beyonder. They confuse him for the Beyonder. There's McDonald's for some reason. But the really cool thing is the Beyonder just shows up. Like Rachel senses he's there. And he looks like the Molecule Man at the moment. He's sort of used that guise as just to get around. So all of a sudden he appears, Rachel finds him, and like Wolverine sees him and sees that he's taken the New Mutants away in a portal, and he goes over and slashes his face. He like slashes right through him, and he just stands there. Like they're all holding back Wolverine, and the guy's just like sliced open, and he teleports them away.
Okay.
So it's just like this event with no consequences. And the reason I wanted to bring it up is because that's the first time like Magneto and them are functioning as a team. So when the next issue starts and we see them all together, we see Magneto with them on like at the opening of the issue that we're going to read next Tuesday. That's why they're already together. They've had this random non-Claremontian experience together. I want to see who wrote this.
And if you look at that front cover again of the next issue, it has in the corner, right? It's
right.
What does it say? Featuring Secret Warrior, continues Secret Wars 2 or something, right? Like, yeah.
Yeah. So in this one, it's John Byrne draws the cover, which was always really cool to see. When I was a kid, I wanted it because John Byrne. And it's just a mishmash of characters. Jim Shooter's writing it just like he did the first series. And it is just a chance for everyone to play together. But look at, like, when Byrne draws it, look at that Magneto. See him there? He's like, I'm not drawing that other suit. No.
I'm John Byrne.
I'm John Byrne.
John Byrne.
It is weird. So I don't have those New Mutants issues. I was never a huge fan. But now I'm sort of tempted to maybe get, if there's like one of those of the first 30 issues of New Mutants, just because it's like this like the continuity and just to figure it all out. But I'm cool if I don't ever get them too. But who knows? Nigel, did you ever mess with the New Mutants?
I did a little bit. When the New Mutants came out, it was like just trying to think of the era I was in terms of what X titles books I was reading. I read I think maybe the first 10 or 15. I really gravitated towards X-Force because they were coming out with a lot of new teams. Excalibur was my jam. I have no idea why, but Excalibur, yeah, man, I know. Excalibur was my jam.
I love them too.
Yeah, there's something about Kitty Pryde and Lockheed. Like, I don't know, man. And just like Captain Britain, I think it was just the idea that, there's a superhero team outside of North America.
Yeah.
Like, that just lived outside of, outside of North America. So I know it's a long-winded answer, but I do generally like the idea of a teen group or just like hero trying to figure everything out. So I did like the idea. of the New Mutants, but I don't know how far I get. I have to check my long boxes at my parents' place because I have a ton of long boxes from all 90s stuff, like all late 80s, early 90s stuff. So I'll check those out. Hopefully I can do that before next week, and then we'll chat.
Don't worry about it.
I got to go back home anyway. I got to see my dad. Listen, my dad will kill me if I don't go back home. It's on the record now, so I got to go.
Fair enough.
But yeah, let me dig into the crates to see what I have. But,
were you also a fan of things because you got on at a number one?
No, I think that's what drew me to comics. A little bit of backstory. I grew up in Cambridge, Ontario, and my first foray into comics was going to the grocery store with my mom and then seeing the spinny racks. I think that's a lot of stories similar to a lot of people in our age group in the demographic. It's like you see these books and you saw them a bunch. You finally asked your parent to buy them, and it was like, $1.25 at the time, or like $2 or something cheaper. And then it was like, I don't know, honestly, Spider-Man, probably volume 1, maybe volume 2. Oh man, issue like 127 or something, like very random. And I read that book until the pages were just like disintegrating, right? And then figured out, oh, there's another one the next month, 128. Oh, cool. Oh, there's another one. Wait, where do I find the ones before? Yo, there's a comic book store?
Yeah, that was the best.
And that there's a couple other milestones in my lifetime, but that honestly, finding out that there's a comic book store was for sure one of my nerdy milestones. Like there's nothing like that feeling when you discover that for the first time and you just go in and you're just like, the world's your oyster. So now I'm going back into the crates and now I'm buying other titles and I'm doing the same thing and I'm buying them at random and I'm just going ham. I really grew up in the last thing on this. I really grew up in the age of, I think it was, I got into comics maybe 5 or 6 years before, no, this would have been earlier, but before Image happened, before they created Image. So I did have a great idea of Jim Lee was my guy. Eric Larson is my guy. I did have a very good knowledge of those creators, those writers. And then when they broke off into Image, it was like, oh, like this was like, it was unbelievable. So that's kind of where, where I was at. Gen 13, if you guys remember that title. Yeah, I was into Gen 13 heavy. I remember missing out on the first print of number 1. I had it in my hand. I was like, I don't know. Yeah, dude. Yeah. And then so we can go on for days. We won't. But yeah.
No, but that's the fun of it, is like how you get in, and the fact that the world was so seemingly random.
Mm-hmm.
Like there wasn't, the fact we didn't even know there were comic stores. Like it wasn't a clear line from A to B back then. So it's amazing how so many people found it, and it was a special thing for each person in their own way, because the journey there was personal. Yeah. So it becomes this like, no, this is my world, and like the order in which you get those random issues informs your taste completely and where your sweet spots are. Like for me, like I've said before, like my first comic is G.I. Joe 19.
Wow.
And, I you could tell by reading it, like there was a lot of backstory, but not like when you pick up X-Men at 200 and you see the number 200 and you're like, oh, this is a generation old. Like there have been people reading this since 1963. So when X Factor came out, and X Factor number 1, I was like, I'm on to this. I want to be on the beginning. I love the idea that I'm here at the start. I didn't miss anything. Oh no, there's an asterisk. Oh no, they told me to go read
Editor's Note
230, something. And so when X Factor came out, I was buying it. When Classic X-Men, 1986, I was so happy because it took me right to the beginning of Giant Size number 1, and like that, I got right on board. So I was reading both versions at the same time, like around issue 200 and like 10 years earlier at the same, through history together. But also when Excalibur happened, I was a huge Nightcrawler fan, a huge Kitty Pryde fan.
Yeah, dude.
I was like, I'm going with them. And
so weird,
it was I think I stayed on it for maybe only 20 issues, but no, the way that Alan Davis drew those characters is forever like imprinted on me, especially Kitty Pryde's hair. It was just so perfect.
Like when the Brood showed up, Like the Brood, that blew my mind. I was like, it was scarier than the actual Aliens movie or Alien. Like the Brood, I was just like, I'm not ready for this. I cut you off, Chris, because I want to share my nightmare with you. But yeah,
no, man, no, for sure. And when we did the Brood comics, when we did that arc, I was like, oh, this is Aliens. Like I, you know what I mean? Like with not having read that previously. But I was gonna say, like, that's what I love so much, like, and people in the chat have shared, you know, every time we come on or every once in a while, it's like, this is my first issue. I picked this up on like it's the memory, and you're right. It's the serendipity, really. It's the serendipity of the entire activity. Like I have so many. I can think off the top of my head at least a couple of issues of going to the local. It was a spinner rack or a convenience store, a Becker's, a Max. Yeah. Whatever it was, Max Mills, to get like the summer comic that I just happened to get as I was somewhere, you know, as a kid. And it's like, all right, New Warriors #1. Sure. I'm a Night Thrasher guy now. Let's go. He's on a skateboard. How can this not be good?
That was my guy too. I'm not even gonna lie to you. That was my guy. Yeah, man. I get it. It's so weird.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty lame.
Night Thrasher guy. I gotta figure out a way to use that line. So, yeah, I'm a Night Thrasher guy now.
The Night Thrasher.
And then if you go and look at it, you're like, wait, what?
And see, now the chat's blowing up like X-Men 183, X-Men 117. That's love it.
Yeah, 117. You're going way back, man.
Yeah,
that's way back. That's awesome.
And the thing is, once I figured out the comic book store thing, that's when I started to go to Fan Expo, right? Or Comic-Con, whatever you want to call it. But at the time, it was only the one. I believe it was only the one festival. We might have had this conversation. It was just in August, and that was it in Toronto. There wasn't two. There wasn't Comic-Con and then Fan Expo. It was just like one Comic-Con thing. Boom. And I remember just like how heavy my backpack was after that weekend. It was just astonishing. I could have just squatted, I don't know, 400 pounds that whole weekend just because I was loading up and I was finding back issues and I was writing them down. I was keeping my checklist, you know what I mean? I was like, dang, I didn't get this one. Then I was going, when I would go and travel with my boys or just like, with my family or whatever the thing is, I try and figure out where the next comic book store is or if we can go to a shop because, a comic book store in Toronto is going to be different than a comic book store in London or in Ottawa or wherever I was. And I mean, they still are to this day for the most part. So it's just like, that was, it's the best. It was the best.
Yeah. I started going to those comic things when there wasn't a Fan Expo and there wasn't a Toronto Comic-Con that I knew of yet. It was it was in the, I think like the auditorium within OCAD.
What?
Yeah. Wow. And I was probably 12 and I would go down. I mean, I'm a suburban boy, so I would take the subway down to Dundas West and head to OCAD with like the other friend I met at summer camp that reads comics. And he was like a DC guy. He was all George Perez and I was like Marvel and all John Byrne. And we didn't know anything. We were like really like 12 years old. And awesome. Going there and I'm, being those kids that would walk past those tables that had books on a vertical like wooden board display so you could see them like wall books and seeing X-Men 109, the first appearance of that Vindicator Guardian Weapon Alpha, and seeing it was $14 and being like, I need to read this. Like, this is, how do I justify? And I was, I'd go through the long boxes and try to get like, how many Avengers comics can I get for $5?
Yeah.
And just try and get a stack and a run of whatever covers I thought looked cool because you don't know what's going to happen in them or whatever series I was trying to read. Like, but man, it was so much fun going to those things and just trying to come back with a haul. It was the best, but yeah, that was, I bought that. It took me 2 times, like 2 different shows to go back and see that X-Men 109 still there for $14 and trying to justify that was impossible. Ali says, get an Uncanny X-Men 274 walking home from grade school, pop into a candy store with friends.
Yeah.
I totally thought spinner rack. I totally thought that was a spinner rack until just now. Yeah.
Yeah. Good times, man.
Yeah, totally. I have an old wizard with an advertisement in the back for the comic convention, $10 to get in. Yeah, that's.
Man. Don't even get me started on how many issues of Wizard I have. Like, I never miss. Once I figured that out, man, that unlocked everything. Because
Yeah.
now you're going through how much your comics are worth. You're going through the checklist. Like it's just like a spotlight. And obviously, as we know to this day, you know, the fan casting, which is like, it's just,
we talked about the X-Men fan casting wizard a lot.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
And I didn't even tell me without telling me, you know what I mean? Say it without saying it. And that's what I just did. And it's just like, yeah, man, it's just Wizard Magazine was such a pivotal part of this whole thing. Such a great publication.
Yeah, it's like a giant piece of trash that we love. They were totally gaming the system too, like putting the checklist or the price guides of things that they were invested in.
Yeah,
in the back. It's all nonsense, but I loved it too, even though I was a little bit older when that was coming out, and I enjoyed. It just was neat that the culture was, you know, like when it forms in your heart, it's so personal, and then when you get out into the world and you find other people that love it too, it's now like an instant bond. But if it doesn't form personally first, I don't think it'll ever last that way.
Yeah,
like it has to be this thing. Like there was no one in my class at school who read comics. I had to find the kid at summer camp, and Corey, Chris, remember he's a food critic guy.
Yeah.
So he was like this comic guy, and like we would have sleepovers, and like the whole thing we would do is we would just draw posters of X-Men. I have like X-Men posters I drew in 1988 when I'm 13 years old, like with markers and colored pencils, and just trying to draw the X-Men standing still looking tough just for hours and hours and hours.
They'll be at our table the next Fan Expo, by the way. 13-year-old art.
It's so bad, and I love it because I remember like just trying to encapsulate the passion that we were all having for these things that no one else cared about. And when that Pride of the X-Men pilot hit that video cassette, and I could get that at the store and rent that thing, we would just watch it on a loop over and over and over again, just nonstop. It was unbelievable. Speaking of unbelievable, it has been 2 hours of this nonsense.
Well done.
You guys are superstars, and by that I mean everyone in the chat. This is a really fun night, Nigel. I really appreciate you being here. You know,
Thanks
Chris and I, we do this for fun. It's like our hangout on a Tuesday night, and it's really great to share it with you.
Awesome.
When I told my family that you were going to be on, my son was so happy.
Dude. He's great.
He's like, Nigel's the best.
Oh man, he's great. Yeah, man, we're gonna do it all again next week. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it. That'd be a lot of fun. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you
I do have like a usual closing thing that we do. So I'll do that usual closing thing. Is there anything you want to promote before we call it a night? Like the hats on IG.
Yeah. Go on and follow my hats. It's purely for fun, and it's so I'm not even like pushing that aggressively. It's like just people have always wondered how many hats do you have, and now I just kind of got into this. You know, I'm a graphic designer by trade, so I've really curated that page, and I really like how it looks. And it'll change, I'm sure. Or follow me just on my regular IG, whatever you want. But if you get a chance, you can catch me on Ghosts on CBS. I believe it's also on Paramount Plus, I think, whatever you got. But yeah, you can check me out there. Season 3 just finished, I think, a couple weeks ago. Season 4 starts up this coming month, I think, in the next month or two. So hopefully they call me back for that. Yeah, that's about it. Other than that, man, reach out, slide into them DMs. Do you want to talk nerdery? I'm here for it.
I just followed your hat channel, and the second you've already got like the Montreal, you already got me. You got Montreal Royals right up there, like baseball history for me, and I have a number of baseball history caps.
Yeah,
so you and I, buddy, this is gonna go places. I like this.
Yeah, man. Let me try, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. Because it was Jackie Robinson Day, I had to drop the 3. There's 3 I think I dropped. Home and away in the alt, I think, but I have more. So it's all good. Yeah,
gorgeous.
So check it out. Yeah, thanks,
I got the T-shirt. I got the Royals T. Anyway,
oh, nice.
Well,
yeah, we got a lot to talk about next week.
We got lots.
Then that brings us to the end of another episode of Previously in X-Men. Thank you to my good buddy, writer of Group of 7 and Peregrines, Chris Sanagan. And you can find out more about our comics and upcoming appearances at group7comics.ca. Of course, it's the number 7. And you can follow us at Group of 7 Comics on social media. please click like and subscribe. Tell us your take on the X-Men comics and on the cartoon. Hope you've enjoyed it. Put it in the comments below. It really makes a big difference. Stay Xy, my friends, and
stay Xy.
Thanks, bub, and have a good night. We'll see you soon. Everyone, you guys are the best. Thank you. Enjoy.